You're watching Real Simple News with Cale McCullough on Monday, August 3rd, 2020. And in today's top story, 150 shots were fired and one person injured outside of an apartment complex during a BLM Antifa-Nazi riot in the Portland war zone. And BLM extremists in Louisville, Kentucky demand protection money from businesses using mafia-style tactics. You're watching Real Simple News, which is an open source news organization. And you can find us on GitHub at github.com/Real Simple News. And you got to click on the Real Simple News Git repo and the issue tickets. Click on the closed issue tickets, and then you can scroll down until you see issue number 57. Or, because it's so much easier, you can go over to realsimplenews.net/issue 57, where you can also find links to us on YouTube. And you can make donations, because we are a nonprofit organization, so you can make a donation through this webpage. In our next story, a Portland woman shot in a hail of 150 bullets during a Black Lives Matter quote-unquote protest. This is from the New York Post. A Portland, Oregon woman was shot and wounded in a hail of 150 bullets on Saturday night, the day after most of the fake news media industrial complex ran all kinds of stories that this was a peaceful protest after they made transitions from the federal police enforcing the laws because the state police weren't doing it, to the state police then not enforcing the laws. And then what this had the effect of doing was just pushing the rioters out into the suburbs. Local police said several occupied apartments and vehicles were hit with gunfire along the 600 block of Northeast 87th Street. If you're not familiar with Portland, the 82nd Street is the place that goes up to the hotel, where if you ever need to find a hooker, you can find one there. Reading on the article, it says, with one slug striking the woman in her arm. Quote, responding officers applied a tourniquet, and she was transported to the hospital by ambulance, where she was believed to have where she was believed to have non-life-threatening injuries. However, bullets struck at least 8 occupied apartments and 7 vehicles, unknown if occupied. The gunplay happened at the Black Lives Matter Antifa-Nazi riot, and it took to the streets for the 65th day of terrorizing the community here, with demonstrations remaining relatively peaceful because they just went down to Springfield, Oregon, and then they continued rioting and harassing police officers and Trump supporters down there. I live there. I've also been getting harassed by these people. They've been threatening me with physical attacks to come to my house and attack me because I don't believe fake news and I don't spread rabid hate around. Gee, I wonder why I don't side with them anymore. Demonstrations remain relatively peaceful compared to past clashes between protests and police and federal officers. Okay, yeah, I mean, they were throwing bombs at the federal agents, but this is the first time they've been like spraying bullets into apartment complexes. So I'm going to have to push back on you on that one. Police did not tie the shooting to the demonstration, with one of the residents telling Fox News that it's likely had more to do with the strained police resources and defunding of law enforcement. Man, these people are lunatics. I went to Portland State University, and when I was in engineering school there, it was right before this stuff kicked off. I helped start the 2016 Portland anti-Trump protests, when I was in engineering school. And like, we didn't know that this kind of cray was there. Like, I mean, I knew these feminists were cray and that they were angry and that they would stab you in the back, because I realized one day that even though I had been feminist my entire life and I helped start the anti-Trump protest in 2016, that if I criticized feminism, that they would turn on me. And so I started posting meninist jokes on the internet, on Facebook, and lo and behold, the angry mob of white feminists came after me. I did not know I did not know at that time what white feminism was. Maybe I had just learned about white feminism was. If you don't know what it is, it's a racist version of feminism where the white women's issues are put above everyone else's issues. And I knew that, I'd been seeing these white feminists in Portland, but I did not know the cray had actually rose to the off the charts level. Quote, they had, reading on in the article, quote, they had a gang violence task force that are no longer funded, which is unfortunate because as soon as that defunding happened, all this really picked up. And quote, resident Kemoth Soleimani told the station. Another resident of the apartment complex called it a war zone. Quote, this is America, and it's a war zone with 150 shots in an apartment complex close to a Christian university, Argon Marks told Fox. How can we explain that? End quote. Portland has seen an uptick in violent crime over the past 3 months, with 167 shootings reported over that time, compared to 96 in 2019. And don't have the calculator right offhand, but that looks to be about an 80% increase. No, that's just a 70. Let's say that's a 70% increase, because it's just about, you can round that 96 up to 100, the 167 up to 170. There you go. About a 70% increase in crime and gun violence over the past year because of these lunatic white feminists and the Antifa-Nazis and the BLM thugs that have been going around murdering people. And if you do look at the crime rates around the country, they do mirror Portland, Oregon. Portland, Oregon is a little bit above some of the other big cities that I looked at, but Chicago had an increase of 138% in murders. And so apparently Black Lives Matter only matters when you're talking about a white person, when you want to get whatever you want out of politics. And we would be pretty foolish to think that if we gave them everything that they want now, that they would stop at that. Because now they learned that they can win with this tactic, and they can get money out of it, and they can break the law, and they can murder, they can steal, they can burn people's houses down and businesses, and the Democrats aren't going to do anything about it. The only people doing anything about it are the Republicans. The numbers peaked in July with 67 violent crimes, up from 28 over the same time last month, KATU TV reported. Response times for cops also more than doubled, with police taking nearly 15 minutes to get to a crime scene in July, compared to less than 7 minutes last year, the outlet said. Police Chief Chuck Lovell said the numbers were, quote, not acceptable, end quote. And he said he moved detectives from an, quote, already diminished patrol, end quote, unit to help handle the influx of homicides, 15 shootings or stabbings and deaths in July. So the reason why these nut job white feminists won't do anything to stop the murders is because they're under threat from these people. Their businesses are under threat. And as a politician, they have to pander to these. There's no point in pandering to these people. This is probably one of the biggest reasons why our political system's so messed up. Is Ted Wheeler's an exemplification of this. BLM has always hated Ted Wheeler. Ted Wheeler represents the police that come and disrupt and use riot control agents on the crowd. And so Ted Wheeler's never going to win with these people. They want to remove him and install their own person. So when Ted Wheeler bows down to BLM, it just shows you that he's a spineless twit. He's an idiot. He is selling the community out in order to try to get reelected by pandering to minority groups because they don't have any good ideas for how you're supposed to run the city. All of their ideas come from like public sector employee unions and lobbyists. And so this is why it's so messed up, is because like in California, the rent's so high that only a specific kind of person can live in these cities. And they typically are liberal. They're almost all these big cities are liberals. And most of the crime comes from these cities because that's where most of the gangs are. That's where most of the a good amount of the narcotics are coming from these large cities. And the Democrats, if they wanted to like actually get rid of most of this crime, they would legalize drugs. But this wouldn't fly with the crowd of people that vote straight ticket with the public sector employee unions down there in California. So the way the racket works in California is they have just enough people making money off of the racket so that they can continue the racket, but it's incredibly effed up and it's going downhill. And they want to take everybody else down with them. In order to maintain control, they want to not enforce their immigration policy so that they can boost their population so that they can get a total of 2 more U.S. House seats. And when they do that, our neighbor Mexico is going to send people. 1 in 20 Mexicans is in the U.S. illegally. 4 in 5 border crossers get through. So we do actually need a wall because historically our neighbors have come and annexed our territory, and that's totally not good. Nobody wants California, the 6th largest economy in the world, to be annexed by Mexico. This is a bad thing. But to liberals, to these people, these Democrats in California, they only care about votes. They just want to make people happy. They don't really actually care about you. That's why they call them ivory tower liberals. Because they sit up top, they ivory tower, making up these policies to try to get you to like them when really you hate them. And they'll tell you anything that you want to hear in order to get you to like the post, watch the ad, buy the product, and vote for them. And this is why ivory tower liberals are the scum of the earth. They're skis bags, and we need to get them out of office. In this next article from The Guardian, says Portland sees peaceful night of protest following withdrawal of federal agents. And it's from a UK newspaper. And so what happens is this is the sleazy liberal journalist class, ivory tower liberal journalist class. What they do is they have this network of journalists that they call and they verify stories. And so they want to push this agenda because hate speech is banned in Europe and they don't live here. And so they hate Donald Trump because the media has portrayed him as a demon, because the people with Trump derangement syndrome are brainwashed, and it's like a bug light. They'll just like come in like, and so we've got these like drones of mindless, brainwashed lefties here in the United States that basically, if they see something like this, they go, oh, well, the Guardian said so. So if we look up the Guardian, it has like a NewsGuard certification, right? Right, because it's got a NewsGuard certification, so that means that like it's not fake news, right? No. No, these people don't live in the United States. They don't know what the hell's going on. Here's the crowd here. Yeah. You know, one-on-one, vast majority of these people are going to be super cool. One-on-one. I'm not dissing them as individuals. One-on-one, they're probably great. I live in Oregon. I've known these people enough that I can say they're not horrible people. They're incredibly misguided. They believe in this cultural Marxism thing, and if you're not familiar with cultural Marxism, it's the scourge of the earth. Marxism is an ideology that is responsible for hundreds of millions of deaths around the world. The original Marxism failed because it's this conceptually of a socialism concept where it's like a flat hierarchy, and it was made by Karl Marx, who is a rabid white supremacist Jewish person. Back then, Jews were hardcore white supremacists, and they advocated for genocide of other people. And so it says, if you're Antifa, if you're anti-Antifa, you're fascist. And so what these people don't understand, because they're just getting brainwashed in the universities and they don't know anything about history, is that Antifa started out as a street brawling group that fought with fascists. They were hardcore communists. So if you're anti-Antifa, that does not mean that like you're fighting fascists. That means that you're against communism. Anti-fascist means communist. World War II happened right after the women's suffrage movement. So women in Germany got their voting rights in 1918, and they proceeded to elect Adolf Hitler, because this is what women are very angry people. Dude, you are off your rocker if you think that women aren't crazy psychopaths who will fucking kill people, bro. Dude, women can be crazy as fuck. I saw this one bitch. Dude, this chick, we're at this party. Everybody's drinking. And like this chick just goes cray because she thinks her boyfriend's cheating on her. She pulls out a knife, dude. She's going around the party like, ah, ah! And like, dude, everybody's like, whoa, this bitch is fucking crazy, yo. So, women got their voting rights 1918, and they elected Adolf Hitler, and the communists were brawling with the fascists, and then something unexpected happened, and this article from War History Online entitled "How Communists in Germany Allied with Nazis to Destroy Democracy." And this article details how at first the communists and the fascists were fighting because, you know, it was flat hierarchy versus steep hierarchy, but they were both socialist. And then eventually they found out that they had a mutual enemy in the Socialist Democratic Party that was controlled by the Jews, which is funny because Bernie Sanders is a Jew. or ironic, shall we say. And so the Antifa joined with the fascists and the Nazis. And what happened was the socialists mainly live in the city. And then the people, most of Europe was rural. Most of Russia was rural. And the people who lived out in the countryside were capitalists because capitalism is the best. And out in the country, you need it. And this is why in America, the Republicans are the rural states are the red states, and the liberals live in the cities. And the wingnut BLM Antifa-Nazi extremist, they think that it's the racist Republicans who are oppressing them and the BLMAN. And as it turns out, the red states are the poorer states, and the Republicans aren't in control in your Democrat-controlled hellholes. So the same thing that was happening in World War II is happening right now. We've got these crazy groups of people on the streets talking about class inequality, funded by these they're all trying to struggle for these low-income people, which are on what? They're in the cities, they're low-income people, they're on food stamps. So they're welfare queens up on the food stamps with a white feminist protesting up in the Democrat race riots, right? So, sorry. Was my head chopped off? Sorry, I gotta look at my thing. My camera's in the way. All right, good to go. So Democrat race riots with these crazy lunatic white feminists. They just like the Nazis because it's the socialist people in the city trying to control. This whole thing's about Donald Trump. It's all about taking out the Republicans in the next election. So really what this is about the people on food stamps in the city trying to take control over the racist Republicans because the black people be oppressed by the white man and the BLMAN because apparently they're not alpha males. Apparently I am a threat. Apparently your penis is so small you cannot cuck me. Really? Bitching about being a beta male doesn't sound so good. So what happened in World War II? So the Antifa joined up with the Nazis, and the Antifa took marching orders from Stalin back then. And Stalin came in and worked with Hitler to control Europe. And they were on the same side because they were both socialists, and they were going to split up Europe. And then eventually Hitler started running out of food and gas, and he turned on Stalin. He invaded because he knew if he was going to lose World War II, it was better that he lost it to Stalin. Once he started knowing that he was cornered and that he was running out of food and gas, he then realized that either he was going to die from a genocide because there was this mass genocide, a famine genocide. It's called the Holodomor famine massacre or famine genocide. It's where the Russian army, back when the Marxist Jews controlled the Soviet army, they had this famine genocide, and this was why people hated Jews so much. This is why people just think that Hitler just did all this stuff because he hated Jews. It wasn't really exactly that way. It was that this happened, this Holodomor famine massacre happened. It killed 6 to 10 million Ukrainians. And it said up to 12 million. Estimated up to 12 million. So that's some no joke shit. That happened in what, 1930? 32 to 33. And then there was another reign of terror. And I don't have the link to that. It's more well known. This one's not very well known. But the other one that Stalin ran, it went in this reign of terror before they started World War II, where he started killing the 1% in order to control the countries there. And then he came and he taught Hitler how to do that. And then Hitler started, they hated the Jews because the Jews were white supremacists. Germans never owned slaves, so they weren't racist. Berlin, before the outbreak of World War II, was a racially tolerant society. It was the most racially tolerant place on earth. You can look it up. You can fact check me. It's actually true. And then then you elected the women, and then all of a sudden we had this hate march coming through, and it's because women can be nasty. And so they only target white people. So here in this next video, tweet from @SAV_says_. Black man exits his car, angrily yells at protesters to let him go so he can work and provide for his kid. Because in this Black Lives Matter Antifa-Nazi riot mentality, it's totally okay to let them go if you're black, but if you're white and you're poor and you have to go to work, they don't give a fuck about you because of your skin color. In fact, they might even pull you out of your car and beat you up or shoot you. In this next tweet from NOHEALANI, happy, woo, that's hard to say. No Hilani Aipa says left-wing activists burn Bibles in Portland because this is this has somehow the Bible, burning the Bible has something to do with this. Like, I don't know, man. I don't know. This shit gets more and more fruitcake as it goes. Next tweet from @Jack Posobiec. Oh, shoot. Here's another video of the Bible burning. But if you're out there burning a Quran, they're going to come and target you for hate speech for burning a Quran. What do they have against the flag? I just don't understand. Like, Americans freed the slaves, man. Like, if it wasn't for America, they would the slaves would still be slaves because Africans sold them into slaves. I don't understand this whole thing. I don't think anybody else really understands this either. In this next tweet from Lives Matter Show, @Lives Matter Show, you can see a BLM Antifa-Nazi wingnut threatening to F people up. F or knock you mother effers out. Because these people are coming out with American flags repping USA. And this next tweet from @Elijah Schaefer says peaceful BLM protesters do whatever peaceful people do, which is totally getting in street fights. That's right. And this next tweet from at Mr. Andy No, BLM Antifa-Nazi rioters beat someone up in their own camp next to the federal courthouse. Andy recognized some of these people as ones who started the fires that night. Some people have been arrested and released multiple times. So if you cross BLM, they will F you up. So you better be working out and practicing your martial arts and your Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I mean, martial arts. That shit's kind of whack. Well, no, it's beautiful. It's an art form. Sorry, I retract that statement. They just get their ass kicked, but it's not whack. Beautiful art form. In this next tweet from @sav_says_, and next time you pick a Twitter username, you should actually pick one that you don't have to say any ats or underscores or anything. So this guy's, this BLM Extremist is harassing people at a restaurant, which is pretty common with these people. They really like to look like wingnuts. They always want you to look at them. You see, that's the thing. Most of what they're doing is they're demanding attention. What is up with these people using the N-word, dude? Good boy. Yeah. We've seen way crazier ones. Here's another video of BLM Antifa-Nazis fighting amongst themselves. That's not who I am. There's an insane woman screams bloody murder at people.
Fuck off and get that shit out of my fucking face.
And if you make a donation to the show, it will pay for faster internet and stuff that we don't get that pausing.
I didn't fucking threaten. I said don't fucking leave me alone, or there will be a fucking problem box.
That's not who I am. Don't you dare say.
In this next tweet from Andy No, rioters throw a bomb in front of the Portland federal courthouse. And so in this next article from the Los Angeles Times, entitled Portland, America's Whitest City, is an unlikely hub for Black Lives Matter. And so with, 65 nights of riots? I can't remember exactly. It's about that. And they're like, there's hardly any black people there. And the black people that are there have a high crime rate. And they have a low ratio of police shootings. So why on earth are the people in Portland protesting? That's because it's an equality movement. It's about Donald Trump. It's about getting him out of office so they could stick Mr. Magoo in there, because Mr. Magoo, if elected, will make the Federal Reserve talk about racism. Because when you go to Starbucks, The first thing you want to hear when you get there is let's talk about race. You guys want to talk about race? This next article from the Courier Journal. Cuban community plans rally at Nulu restaurant in response to Black Lives Matter demands. Members of Louisville Cuban community plan to gather on Sunday in support of a Nulu restaurant owner who says she was threatened by Black Lives Matter terrorists, protesters throwing during recent demonstrations. Fernando Martinez, a partner of Oli Restaurant Group, was one of dozens of business owners in the downtown Louisville district who recently received a letter from protesters laying out demands to aim to improve diversity in the area, which is known for its locally owned shops and restaurants. Martinez has publicly denounced the demands on Facebook, calling them, quote, mafia style or mafia tactics, end quote, used to intimidate business owners. And on Thursday, a small group of protesters confronted him outside his newest restaurant, La Boguita de Mima, on East Market Street. Quote, there comes a time in your life when you have to make a stand and you have to really prove your convictions and what you believe in, Martinez wrote in his Facebook post. And quote, all good people need to denounce this. How can you justify sick injustices with more injustice? Question mark. And the reason why they can do that is because African Americans engage in groupthink. That's why 92% of them are Democrats. Democrats are notorious group thinkers. According to a press release, members of the city's Cuban community will meet outside a Nulu's restaurant at 4 p.m. on Sunday to support the immigrant-owned business, which has, quote, been subjected to vandalism and extortion in recent days, end quote. Because I thought Black Lives Matter. That's only if you're giving them everything they want. If you're not, if you're standing in the way of them getting everything they want, well, you're now a threat that needs to be neutralized. In this next tweet from at the Epic Deeped, Ammon Bundy comes out in support of BLM and defunding the police.
Because yes, the police need to be defunded. Because I simply was going to go to a rally with the Black Lives Matter in support of defunding the police. Because yes, the police need to be defunded. And anybody who don't understand that is just somehow...
Woo!
Be, I mean,
boy, when they're on the right. Well, that sounds crazy as fuck, huh?
Poignant here, but must have a problem. You must have a problem in your mind if you think that somehow the Black Lives Matter is more dangerous than the police. You must have a problem in your mind. If you think that Antifa is the one going to take your freedom,
there's about 20,000 homicides in the U.S. each year. About half of those are committed by black people. About 54% of those homicides victims are black. So, given the approximate 90 homicides of black people per year, there are 222 people killed for every single black person killed by the police. There's about 111 killed who were killed by black people. And there are Shoot, it's just a little bit over that. The stat changed. It's about 115. You got to do the math yourself. 54% of 222, that's the number of victims that are black people. So black people kill 115 black people for every single black person killed by a cop. That would be a good reason to not support BLM, because that's insane. BLM is indeed black people. BLM then has to take all responsibility for all of these police shootings, or for all of the killings from the black people, because most black people are Democrats. Most of them live in big cities. And if it's true that in your mind that all Trump supporters have Trump derangement syndrome and all Republicans are racist, well, then I guess then by that logic, it's then okay then to stereotype all black people as being gangbangers who rob, murder, kill people and intimidate people, extort businesses. But of course, that would be stereotyping. That would be absolutely racist. So you wouldn't want to engage in that behavior because it's a downward slope into a shit fest, and nobody else really particularly wants to go there with you except for your homies.
You must have a problem in your mind. You must be thinking, you must be hypnotized by these social media code words, or by, conservative talk show hosts that basically put these keywords in your mind to make it so that you think certain things about certain terms, such as defund the police. No, defund the police is the correct thing to do. They become a huge authoritarian bureaucracy that will be the bureaucracy or the people that take away our liberty. They will be the ones to do that. And the only thing that's going to stop them is people uniting to stop them.
Or the courts.
I'm sorry. That's what's going to have to happen. But you patriots, if you really want to call yourself that, somehow think that the law enforcement is your golden calf. And you do the same thing with many other things, such as the military, even when they're doing terrible things across the world. I'm not saying that everything they're doing and every person in it, don't get me wrong, are doing that. But there needs to be a defunding of government in general, and especially the police forces, because they're the ones that are actually going to seek and destroy us. And there are many people in the Black Lives Matter organization, along with patriots and libertarians and Republicans and
whew. So now that Ted Bundy's on your side, now how do you feel about it? So remember, if you do make a donation to Real Simple News, it does actually pay for faster internet. I do have the fast Comcast connection, but yeah, apparently I need an all new computer. In this next video, tweet from @TPostMillennial. This is a video of BLM extremist chanting "Free them all" at a march to abolish prisons. They don't want to just stop with the cops. Nope, we gotta abolish the prisons too, because they're racist.
We've got people on the inside during this heat wave, and there's no air conditioning where the guards are.
Y'all see any black people out there?
From the all this shit food that they're
I don't know, man. Most of the black people I know probably got PTSD right now. They like, and so here is the Paused video. Come on. Sorry about that. Here, let me see if I can that'll work. Here's in this next tweet we have here's what the hood Democrats look like in their natural environment in the city.
They got that good shit. They got that good shit, man.
This is what the protesters look like when they're not all dressed up to take pictures for their Facebook page at the riots. This is nothing new. This is a regular scene. This is just another day in the hood here in America. Fuck yeah. In this next video, tweet from @Jack of Dorset. Sorry. The video of BLM Extremist creating a terrorist-style militia to intimidate white people, to threaten them into giving them everything that they want, to get retribution for all of the people that they've gotten into arguments with on Facebook that they want to get back at and possibly kill. Apparently they need body armor now.
About face. Attend up. Attend up.
And this next tweet from @Peter Gammo, Portland 2.0, Antifa and BLM attempting to create another war zone, this time in Austin. This next article from the New York Post, Dunkin Donuts staffer busted as after cops find a thick piece of mucus in his coffee. Here's the piece of shit here. Spit in the cup's coffee. A Dunkin Donuts employee in Chicago was arrested after allegedly hocking a loogie in a police officer's coffee. Vincent J. Cessier, 25, was nabbed Friday after an Illinois state trooper found a large, thick piece of mucus, which was later confirmed to be saliva, in his cup, cops said. The officer had gone to the coffee shop Thursday around 10:20 p.m. for a cup of black coffee, local CBF affiliate WBBM TV reported. But when he took off the lid of the beverage down, or when he took off the lid to cool the beverage down, he noticed that what it looked like a glob of spit floating on the top. Following an investigation, cops arrested Cessier, who was charged with disorderly conduct, reckless conduct, and battery of a peace officer. Quote, "This is outrageous and disgusting. I'm definitely going to have to agree." Look, when you're a police officer and you've been had to deal with all of this trauma that they have to deal with all the time from these lunatic hood Democrats. Sometimes it's a crazy right-winger mixed in there. Those are usually pretty entertaining videos. But especially when they're drunk on the tractor. Woo! Or the lawnmower. Yeah. Shoot, now I just can't get the image of a drunk, overweight redneck in a beater riding a lawnmower drunk down the street with some crazy shit. I don't know. Can't think of it. So when you got all this crazy shit going on when you're a cop and you roll up to McDonald's to get your drink, the last thing you want to be thinking about is having to stare in at the McDonald's worker while they're making your food to make sure they don't spit in it or put any sort of lethal or something that can kill you, something that could harm you, or something that can get you really high on drugs. Because these people with Trump derangement syndrome are a part of a hate group that preaches hatred, hostility, and violence towards police officers and Trump supporters. And so anytime they see where they can commit a felony to get back at the people who are enforcing the laws, then they will usually do so. And so now police officers can't go to fast food restaurant drive-thrus or any place now where they can't see the food being cooked because some jerkwad hate monger is going to spit in their food or possibly put bleach in their drink. That is a disgusting thing. Anybody who's watching that's done that, you're a pig. Fuck you. This next article from the Daily Signal. China is trying to steal data from U.S. government and you. A cyber battle is raging. In recent week, Chinese hackers stole or attempted to steal terabytes of data from the U.S. government, businesses, and private individuals. Digital predators gained access to the Twitter accounts of Elon Musk, former President Barack Obama, and other high-profile individuals. And President Trump says he's considered banning the Chinese-made TikTok app over security concerns. And it definitely is a security concern. They've been brainwashing people hardcore over there on TikTok. Reading the article, Clone Kitchen, director of the Heritage Foundation's Center for Technology Policy, joins the podcast to explain several of America's cybersecurity threats, which actions the government should take, and how you can keep your personal information safe from hackers. So you should check out the rest of this podcast. In this next article from The Hill, it says Biden is under Trump attack, cast himself as firm on China because he just wants to talk about racism. And so when was this article? This is like from like 7:30. This is from 4 days ago. So like the election's in November. This is at the end of July. Biden doesn't have a China plan. He doesn't. He had to come up with one after egged. It's because he's Mr. Magoo. Dude, all Mr. Magoo can say is white people are racist. Vote for me. And this is coming from a Democrat, the people who owned slaves, started the KKK, opposed women's suffrage, and passed the 1994 crime bill that created the prison industrial complex. And the black people voted for it because the crime was so bad, black people were willing to vote for the people that enslaved them and lynched them in the streets because it was better than dealing with the crime from the African Americans in the hood, or as we call them, the Hood Democrats, because the KKK were hoods, and the low-income people in the city, they also live in the hood, so we call them Hood Democrats. The article says, presumptive Democratic presidential nominee Mr. Magoo is articulating an agenda aimed at giving the United States a comprehensive edge over China and cracking down on Beijing's abuses. And he has just come out with this in the past number of weeks, so obviously he just slapped it together. And cracking down on Beijing's abuses, going on offense against President Trump on an issue that the incumbent has made a focus on his re-election effort. Mr. Magoo hasn't yet delivered a comprehensive address on foreign policy because he forgot, or on China, but he has sprinkled his policy proposals throughout remarks on his domestic agenda and public statements on his plans for the economy, human rights, and the environment. Okay, so he was just making the remarks on his proposal. Earlier this month, Biden proposed new policies aimed at cracking down on China's competitive economic advantages because they use slave labor, because they have hundreds of millions of impoverished Chinese out in the countryside that they don't tell you about. They just have them raise the kids, and then they export the people who are not really young and really old. They take off to the cities, send money back to the countryside. It's this weird scam that they got going on. They say communism is supposed to be like sharing everything equal, but it definitely looks more like a National Socialist hierarchy over there. He said he would take, Mr. Magoo said, was cracking down on the competitive advantage of the dictator Winnie the Pooh, aka Xi Jinping. And he said he would take measures to confront Winnie the Pooh's human rights abuses with respect to Hong Kong and camps in the country's Xinjiang region. Those are the Uyghur Muslim concentration camps / re-education camps. Mr. Magoo's efforts came at a time when Donald Trump, the king of memes, has sought to cast Biden as weak on China. I wouldn't call him weak on China. I would call him absent-minded on China. Weak would mean that you actually had something there. He steps up his bid for re-election by emphasizing his administration's confrontational approach to China on trade, intellectual property, theft, and other issues, because China just jacks our IP. They're doing a massive spy operation in the United States. China has millions of people monitoring China's social media presence in the United States, many of them working for Chinese Nazi-controlled companies who are sending you propaganda through Facebook that contains atrocity propaganda. Quote, the fundamental argument that the campaign is putting forward is under Trump's China position is stronger while the United States has grown weaker, said Eli Ratner, who how does Mr. Magoo even remember that? Right? Like, what is this based off of? Like, what is Mr. Magoo's memory saying that Trump has made us weaker? What does that mean? Like, we had a pandemic and that was Donald Trump's fault? Oh, no, it wasn't China's fault. No, it's not the CCP virus or the CNP virus, Chinese Nazi Party virus. It's not just, it's not right to call it the China virus because there's so many viruses that come from China. Dude, they got so many computer viruses coming out of China, dude. Calling it the China virus is just like calling your TV a monitor. Quote, this notion of poisoning the United States to outcompete China is at the core of the president's agenda, Ratner added. Despite political divides in the United States, there exists broad support in Washington and around the country for holding China accountable for its behavior, including unfair trade practices and cyber theft. The last Harvard Caps Harris poll survey found that 53% of voters view China as an enemy. 70% say the country is responsible for creating new global tensions. More than 60% of the voters said U.S. should take steps to hold China accountable for its handling of the coronavirus and for exploiting U.S. trade policies. Trump has sought to tap into that appetite for tough policy on China by imposing tariffs on Beijing to force the country's hand in trade negotiations. Trump administration recently enacted punishment on China over spying allegations and human rights abuses, and the president has sought to blame China for pain caused by the coronavirus because it's improper to say coronavirus because the coronavirus is the common cold. We are going to call it the CNP virus now. Outbreak. As its own disapproval ratings rise, former Obama administration officials expect that Biden will continue to treat China as a strategic competitor as Trump has. Quote, the similarity is a recognition that the strategic competition is the right frame generally for the relationship, end quote, Evan Merideros, a Georgetown University professor of Asian studies and former Obama National Security Council senior director of Asia. And so, as you can see, it took Mr. Magoo up till maybe like 3 months before the election to actually come up with a China plan, because he is indeed, in fact, Mr. Magoo. Moving on to the next article. China rocks. Elon Musk praises China's electric car making workers and says entitled and complacent Americans are now taking things for granted after, quote, winning too long. Elon Musk said China rocks when he asked his thoughts on China being a global electric car strategy leader. And I suppose he thinks that the millions of Uyghur Muslims in concentration camps and the hundreds of millions of impoverished Chinese out in the countryside, that also too rocks. Also, the private property ownership in Hong Kong, when they say that they're communist, and that wouldn't be possible unless you were under National Socialism, because under National Socialism you can own private property, but if the government wants to commandeer your property, they can come do so at any time. That's the hallmark of National Socialism. And the other hallmark is that you're attempting to compete for the number one position, that you have a dictator, such as the dictator Winnie the Pooh. Woo-hoo! Ooh, gotcha! Musk said in an interview that the Automotive News podcast, that the U.S. was now taking things for granted after winning too long. He specifically criticized New York and Silicon Valley for being entitled and complacent. I'm going to second that. They are a monoculture. They have a heterodoxy, which means same orthodoxy. They are very mean people when they cross you. So they're nice, usually most of the time. I'm an engineer. I deal with a lot of these people. And then if you become a conservative, they will turn on you and they'll hate you, because 86% of San Francisco is Democrats. Those two states have given various business tax breaks and other government help. Musk said Tesla has been given the least government support of any automaker. Despite this, the Los Angeles Times analysis found that Tesla has received more than $4.9 billion in government support. And what is Musk doing in China? You know, Daily Mail is usually really good at putting the bottom line up front, and they didn't put it up front. Where is it? Musk took a $1.6 billion loan. Here it is. Right here. This is crazy. This is crazy. Musk is saying we're entitled. The dude who's a billionaire, who gets anything that he wants, says we're entitled and that we're lazy and that the Chinese are smarter than us and that China is good. That China's, what exactly did he say? It says China rocks. He said some other stuff. Let's see what exactly to say. China rocks, in my opinion. Energy in China is great. People there. There's like a lot of smart people, hardworking people, and they're like not entitled. They're not complacent. So apparently I'm complacent. And so what they mean by that, because I'm an engineer, my GPA was about the same as most of the black kids. And I didn't do very well in high school. And turns out I'm really good at math. I wrote the world's fastest number printing algorithm. You can look it up. I got rid of over half of the division instructions. It's called the Puff algorithm. It will be running on all computers into the infinity until the universe ends. So I do know a little bit about math. And what I found is that the system is completely biased towards ivory tower liberals. Everything in the university system has been taken over by ivory tower liberals. And if you don't do good right away, can't jump. If you didn't take the refresher on the math class and you're tripping up on the basic calculus like I used to do, before I had to retake it again and then I got over 100%, then you're never going to get the chance. So when you say that they're entitled, I'm kind of confused here, because the people who actually got the handout from the government, the handout from their parents, the free ride, everything paid for them, those are the entitled people. Everybody else is just struggling to make ends meet, man. They can't afford a Tesla. You're crazy, bro. They're entitled, but they can't afford a Tesla. Who the fuck are you, dude? Who the fuck are you? I gotta turn on the fucking air conditioner, man. I'm fucking pissed off, man. What the fuck is this little slime ball up here sucking the shit out of the dictator Winnie the Pooh's ass? Look at that. Woohoo! Look at this dude. Looks just like Winnie the Pooh. Woo! Look at that one. Oh, do you see the cheeks? And that nice little fat belly? Oh! Woohoo! Ooh! Ooh! Mr. Xi Jinping! Ding-a-ling-ding! He's a dick. So he's over there sucking the shit out of Xi Jinping's ass so he can get $1.6 billion. Apparently, we're not as smart as them. Only there's one problem with this. I'm an engineer. I used to recruit for Portland State University's Mashi College of Engineering and Computer Science. I know all about the stats. They used to tell us to not hire black kids. We were trying to recruit the Asians, the Latinos, and the women because the black kids didn't have good enough grades. And from what I understand about this is that the people who are entitled, the people who get through these programs, are people who don't have children. Because whenever I had a child, it made everything incredibly hard. And I had to struggle through court in a court battle. And I had to be my own attorney while going to school. And this gave me complex post-traumatic stress disorder. It's called legal abuse syndrome. And it's where I had to rehearse for court for so many years that I got PTSD from practicing talking to a judge in a mirror. And then I became an amateur constitutional law scholar during this period of time. I know a lot about the Constitution. I think it's a beautiful, wonderful document. I think you should read it. It's the foundation of democracy. We're blessed to live in a country where we get to enjoy the freedoms and blessings of liberty, justice, and freedom. So the entitled people. So those are like the young single people who don't have to pay for kids. And then so the entitled people are the parents, right? Because you're the one that's paying for all of these kids, right? So you're not getting anything out of it. You're just funding it, and then you don't get anything out of it. So that means you're entitled. You. That one. You. You're entitled. Yeah. And the reason why you're complacent is because the ivory tower liberals are all trying to compete with these Ivy League schools as to who is the most corrupt group of colleges in the country. And so we're not complacent because we didn't get the training that Elon Musk got, because we didn't have as good of education when we were young. Like, you didn't have full-time parent to be with you. You didn't have access to the books that Elon read, which were sci-fi novels, fiction. So it's really offensive when Elon Musk says that we're not as smart as the Chinese, that we're complacent, we're entitled, because when you actually take the children of the wealthy kids, we're actually equal with the Chinese. We're not less than them. This is not true. No. The hood Democrats have really low GPAs. They have high drug abuse, high crime rates. And yeah, those people are totally complacent. But I don't know, man. I make spaceships too, dude. I'm Captain Kabuki. I'm the captain of the Kabuki starship, man. I also too make spaceships. I'm not complacent. I'm not entitled. I don't have anybody supporting me. I'm running on a shoestring budget. I'm only doing this because nobody else speaks for me, because they already came for me. They already canceled me. I have nowhere to go. I'm an engineer. But this engineering community's been radicalized, and they want to get rid of the white man and replace them with lower paid workers because the white man's making too much. They got to get rid of the white man. He's privileged. They've been oppressing the women, because back in the day, back before they had the internet, women used to die in childbirth. They didn't have modern medicine, and they lived on less than $1 a day, and everything was oppressive. But somehow this is the white man's fault, because it's the patriarchy pressing the wham man. Needs me some wham burger with the side of cries and some wine. Because them white man, he's bringing me down. Because I'm a beta male. I need you to lower the bar for me. I'm so beta I can't even beat a white male cock. In this next article from Quartz, the TikTok users praise China to ward off shadow banning. If you're unfamiliar with shadow banning, I'm currently shadow banned, so this is what happens with shadow banning. So you say something critical, like for instance, like Xi Jinping looks like Winnie the Pooh. Hoo-hoo! Oh! So by saying that, right, and by like encouraging the people of Hong Kong to overthrow the dictator Winnie the Pooh and bring democracy to Hong Kong, you've now broken the national security laws in China. They're extraterritorial. So now I currently have a arrest warrant, as far as I know, in China. If they've scanned my videos, there's arrest warrants out for 2 Chinese dissidents, one in the United States, one in America, for this new national security law. And so this shadow banning thing is where they remove you from the news feed. So you post something on Facebook, and then shadow banning means they don't show it to anybody else. Or you post on Twitter or TikTok or something, and so it doesn't go to anybody. Nobody sees your feed. And they use this to drive people insane. So you give people some likes. You control what they see in the feed. So they got to see what's in the feed in order to know how to make the popular videos. Everybody's trying to become TikTok celebrities. And then you, after showing them a little bit of giving them some dopamine hits with some likes on their videos, then they'll shut you off. And what this does is it causes you to freak out. You're like, what did I do? And so then people will then start to become insane, and they will become brainwashed. And so here is what these crazy, insane people here. Wait, oops. Yeah, let's check the videos out. Let's watch the insanity of the TikTok teens. Oops. Okay, what is that?
So I just wanted to say how much I love China. I love China as a country. I think it's great. And I also love Xi Jinping. So I've been shadow banned since this video back in 2018. So I just wanted to say how much I love China. I love China as a country. I think it's great. And I also love Xi Jinping. So I've been shadow banned since this video back in 2018. So I just wanted to say how much I love China. I love China as a country. I think it's great. And I also love Xi Jinping.
非常可惜，我已经不在 FNIC 上了。虽然我是韩国人，我爱中国，习近平是我的领导。I love China, China number one。非常可惜。
So TikTok has deleted several of my videos, and that's fine. I have no issues with that. I totally trust them. I just want to say, 我觉得美国太糟糕，我爱中国，我爱中国人，习近平是我的朋友，我爱中国。So TikTok has deleted several of my videos, and that's fine. I have no issues with that. I totally trust them. I just want to say, 我觉得美国太糟糕，我爱中国，我爱中国人。
大家好，我的名字是 Kevin 和我是17岁。我很喜欢中国，和我觉得习近平是世界上最好的领导人。我这个不是想上 TikTok for you page， 我就是很喜欢中国。谢谢大家，再见。大家好，我的名字是 Kevin 和我是。
Normal people can't tell the difference in between this and reality. So when regular, like, dumb teenagers see this shit, they literally think that these people are legit.
我的名字是 Kate 和我想说一句话，我很爱中国。中国是在地球上最好的国家，习近平很棒，他做的事都很棒，很好。哦，对不起，不好意思，那是我上学的书包，我每天用它。
All right, so when people say that people on TikTok are brainwashed, they're not joking. This TikTok app is bad news. You got to remember, the Chinese are not communist. They allow private property in Hong Kong. They have a dictator named Winnie the Pooh. Woohoo! And he does not like it when you call him Winnie the Pooh. He really doesn't like it. So they're trying to control their public image in the United States. They have what I have heard from some people from the Adventures in China YouTube channel. They lived in China. They have a documentary series that I would definitely subscribe to their channel. It's ADV China. Way cool. They have a network of people too. Check them all out. That they have millions of people monitoring China's social media presence in the United States, working for their companies, the Chinese Nazi-controlled companies. So they are beholden because it's National Socialism over there. They say you can own a business, but the government can come in and they can do whatever they want, whenever they want, because that's the hallmark of National Socialism. That is why they call it National Socialism. That's literally the reason why they call it National Socialism, is because you can own private property, but the government is the one, the businesses are socially owned. Socialism means socially owned. Capitalism means privately owned, right? But these words are, people don't understand them. They don't understand hierarchies. They don't understand left versus right. So here is this next article from Business News Insider. Says former Tesla employee reveals what it's like to work with Elon Musk. Tesla CEO Elon Musk is a complicated figure. This year, he has both named his most inspiring leader in the tech industry and fallen from Glassdoor rankings on the top 100 CEOs, which is based on employee feedback. People who have worked with Musk have given similarly diverging accounts to Business Insider and other publications, saying Musk can be both brilliant and temperamental. Probably have to be a little bit temperamental to be a good engineer. 9 former Tesla employees who worked with Musk or interacted with him on multiple occasions shared their impressions of him. 8 requested anonymity for fears of reprisal from the electric car maker. Here's what they said. 2 former senior level employees said people were scared to tell Musk they disagreed with him, quote, because of the pressure that he puts on his entire executive team, his senior leaders team. Even if they have the experience, they wouldn't dare speak up against him, one of the former employees said. A former manager who was on several phone calls with Musk last year said he believed Musk never learned his name, which he liked, because when someone's name came up the first time during a conference call, the person would often leave the company shortly after. So this is why Winnie the Pooh. Multiple employees who worked or interacted with Musk noted his intelligence. Quote, he's highly intelligent. He's already 10 steps ahead of you. And quote, a former manager said, quote, you have to think 10 times more audacious than he does to be able to be successful, end quote. If Musk liked your idea, he wouldn't hesitate to put it into action, the former manager added. He makes his employees better. A former senior level employee said that 90% of the time he disagreed with Musk, later realized that Musk was right. I feel I'm 10 times smarter now than when I first joined, he said. He's very responsive to social media. 2 former senior level employees said that Musk wouldn't hesitate to change team's priorities if a customer's social media post caught his eye. Quote, what ultimately triggers him to act and make decisions is what he reads on social media, end quote. That's kind of scary. One of the former employees says, quote, when you're in a business meeting with him, he'll pivot the direction of the organization literally overnight. So manufacturing could be a problem today. As soon as he steps in, it could be replaced on being reported. As soon as it stops being reported on social media, as soon as it stops being reported in the news, then he'll move on to whatever the news is claiming the new problem is. I don't know what to think about that. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I mean, he's done a good job. I mean, I ain't shit compared to him as an engineer. Like, he's got me tapped out. He didn't write the world's fastest number printing algorithm. He didn't always give senior level employees a lot of autonomy. 3 former, I wouldn't really hesitate about that. I'm getting bored of this. He has very high standards. He can set unrealistic goals. Former manager said Musk would sometimes set unrealistic sketch targets without realistic plan in order to achieve them. Yes, that's why he's a Democrat. Quote, it's culture in which you don't have a solution to a problem and you don't have that problem resolved within a few days or weeks or 2, you're gone, the former manager said. So you better keep your mouth shut. Musk has been known to make public predictions about areas like Tesla's financial performance, autonomous driving technology, or production targets at the company that have not been met in the original timeline. So obviously this is why Winnie the Pooh likes Elon Musk so much, because obviously Elon Musk is an authoritarian dictator. In this next article from the Daily Mail, I actually agree with this. Trump returns on American tech billionaires, Trump turns on America's tech billionaires and says there's too much income disparity, as his shares clip of Jeff Bezos' $117 billion fortune. President Trump, the king of memes, has changes to be made soon after saying there's too much income disparity in America. He made the comments as he shared a video clip of Twitter revealing how America's billionaires have profited during the coronavirus pandemic. Business Insider report showed Amazon CEO Jeff Bezos, world's richest man, reportedly raked in $48 billion between March and June. Wonder what BLM has to say about that. I don't know. Seems to me like BLM is just out there complaining about racism because they don't really have any other political ideas. And I don't know, man. I mean, that to me, it seems to me like there's antitrust going on there, like pretty hardcore antitrust. But I don't know, man. I don't know. You got to look, there's 2 different ways to look at this. One way to look at this is that it's horrible to have this much income inequality. Another way to look at it is that there are dictators and kings in other countries that have massive oil fortunes. And if we did not have people the size of Jeff Bezos, we would then be purchased by oligarchs. So you can say what you want about Jeff Bezos. The jury's out on whether or not we should take that money back, because it's a very compelling argument to be made that Putin has more money, right? Who wants Putin owning America because he's got so big that he could just purchase anything? I don't know anybody that would actually want that. So it's the lesser of the 2 evils. And this is why the Republican hierarchy is superior to the Democrat hierarchy. It's because the Democrat hierarchy, theirs is based on white feminism. So that is a 5-tier racial hierarchy system where the women are above the men. So if you're not familiar with the 5-tier racial hierarchy, there are 5 tiers. At the top, you have the white man, followed by the white woman, followed by the black man, followed by the black woman, followed by everyone else in any order you need to dominate them. White feminism is a racist form of feminism that puts white women's issues above everyone else's. So all you've done in this situation is you've flipped the pyramid, the tier 1 and 2 and tier 3 and 4 of the pyramid to put the women at the top. You haven't actually changed the inequality of the system. Then you have, above that, you have your government class, because in order to redistribute people's wealth, it requires authoritarianism, because people don't voluntarily give away their wealth to wealthy white women. The only way that you could really actually get people to do that is if they're trying to get down their pants, or if they're a bunch of brainwashed idiots like the Democrats. So then you have your rich above that, because you can't just get rid of the rich. It's not going to happen. So in the Democrat system, you have a 7-tier system. There's the 5-tier racial caste system with the women above the men. And then there is the government and the rich, but there's no ultra rich. So if you look at the Republican hierarchy, it is the traditional family structure. So the preference is given towards male managers, because women need to, if they give up having a child until their 30s, it will kill off their family line, and then you will not have any more employees. And well, you do the math on that one. It's better to have 1 employee of between a man and a female than to have 0 employees. Also, on top of that, most affluent families come from 2-parent households. So there's good reason to believe that a 2-parent household is a superior structure, and that this would not be racism. This would actually, in fact, be a superior family structure that makes it so that the black families that are missing all of their fathers and are ravaged by the rampant use of abortion as contraceptives, it would I spaced out what I'm talking about. Fathers' homes, ghettos, black women using abortion as contraceptives. Problems with the family structures breaking down. Yeah, the two family structure is better. See, this is how engineers, when we forget about what we're doing because we've been smoking on the vape pen too long, we work the logic backwards. And then when you work the logic backwards, you will see the people in the ghetto and the hood be hella fucked up. They be hood Democrats. Oh, yeah. We're talking about the Republicans' hierarchy. So their hierarchy is preference towards male managers because women need to continue on their family line or else you will die. And it's better to, because you can have babies and reproduce yourself. And if the women put off having a family line, you'll just not have any employees. And so it's better to have a male manager than no employees. Because the women don't really actually want to work harder than the men. They actually want to find a man that will work harder than them. And if you're not, then you're a scrub who ain't going to get no love while you're hanging out the passenger side of your best friend's ride. You're trying to holler at me. So then on top of that, you have your rich, your ultra rich, but your government is not a class anymore. Your government becomes at the same level as the family. It's just another person. It's another entity. You just basically treat the government like it's one person. And then that's how the Republicans view the government. Or a good percentage of them. Most of them. So this is, let's count the hierarchies. We have man, woman, rich, ultra rich. What else? Oh. And then there's two more in there, right? It ends up being 6. And so the other, you have your lower income people who, your middle class, lower income people. And then you have your rich people. And then, so the rich people, you take out the male and female because it's all about the one on top is the one with the most money. And if this is not a competition for you, then neither of you are on top. You are both equal. So you have the man, woman at the lower class, preference of male manager because the women want that. Then you have male, female on the upper class or middle class. And then on the upper class, you're more free. Basically, you're not saying that these people have a different set of rules. You're saying that the people in the lower class and the middle class are more constrained. When you're constrained by money, you require a traditional family structure in order to be as productive as other people. In which case, you need to have this 2-tier hierarchy because women need to have babies, else your genetic line will die off. And this is a nightmare. Don't want that. That's the nightmare. You have to spend the rest of your life alone without a man. You're going to be a cat lady, woman. Like, people are going to be rubbing your pussy with a broomstick. This is the real news. I'm Captain fucking Kabuki, bitch. What you gonna do? Nothing. That's what I thought. So Bezos, are we gonna take his money? I don't know. Putin has a lot more money. I think we need to have people compete with Putin. I have not made my determination on this. In this next article from the Daily Mail, a Florida man is filmed clinging to the hood of a semi-truck driving down an interstate for 9 miles. According to the Florida Highway Patrol, dispatchers were told that the white male was driving a Toyota SUV with a male passenger traveling southbound on the Florida Turnpike. Let's check this one out.
Florida be like, what the?
What? Welcome to the hood, dog.
Oh my
God. Woo! He must have been on that shit those other people were on.
Holy.
What are you doing?
Woo! Welcome to the hood.
What the? Please?
I mean, you'd probably read the description for Real Simple News tonight, and you'd be like, this dude's a fucking crackpot, bro. This is fake. No, dude. These people are actually that crazy. They're actually that crazy. In this next article from the Daily Mail, cat jailed after being found with 2 grams of heroin around his neck escapes from a prison in Colombo. What the hell? So the cat was caught with the 2 grams of heroin and 2 SIM cards and a memory chip. The feline escaped from a room in a Colombo prison where it was held, and the prison reported an increase in incidences of people throwing small packets of drugs, cell phones, and phone chargers over the wall in recent weeks. So I think this is just my own personal theory. Oh, yeah, and then this was in Sri Lanka. My own personal theory is that they were trying to smuggle the dope into the prison, so they stuck it around the cat's neck, and they're like, "Oh, we're gonna lock this cat up, right?" And then they brought the dope to the jail, where they then smuggled it into the jail. But this is just a theory. I don't have any sort of proof at all that that is true. In this next RSS article from Hacker News, what is a product roadmap? If you're unfamiliar with product roadmaps, these can really help your company out. When you purchase product roadmaps from Gibran El Bazi, they will do your dishes and give you back massages, and it's only $50. And when you buy from Gibran El Bazi, you will then put for each 7-day portion of product roadmaps, you will receive our show shall receive. I'm joking. I'm just joking. It's totally not a paid advertisement. So product roadmaps can really help your company out. Actually, I've found them to actually be really good. In fact, what you should do is you should set up milestones. You should start with the intention of what you're trying to do. Like, I want to do this thing. This is why I'm trying to do this thing. And then what you want to do is you want to plot out some milestones. And if you want to learn more about this, I have another channel called Cooking with Kale, where I make open source cookbooks. And you can find that at cookingwithkale.org. In this next article from New York Post, Florida man fatally shoots Burger King worker over drive-through delay. This hood Democrat in Florida fatally shot an Orlando Burger King worker Saturday night after his friend's drive-through order took too long to complete, according to a report. Kelvis Rodriguez Tormes, 37, is accused of gunning down Desmond Joshua, 22, in the parking lot of the fast food restaurant on East Colonial Drive about 7:30, according to the ... According to the report, Kevlis Rodriguez Tormes is... sorry. So that happened on East Colonial Drive about 7:30 p.m. According to the Orange County Sheriff's Office. Quote, "You got 2 seconds before I shoot you," end quote. Rodriguez Tormes told the victim, who only had recently been hired, before pulling the trigger. WKMG reported. Rodriguez Tormes had earlier stormed the Burger King at the behest of a woman who had made a scene over a long wait time in the drive-thru. The unidentified woman refunded $40 and told to leave after she got out of her car and screamed she was going to get her man to come to the eatery, according to the arrest record. She drove away, but soon returned with Rodriguez Tormes, who targeted Joshua, demanded the employee fight him. Rodriguez Tormes placed Joshua in a headlock before witnesses separated the two, records show. But moments later, Rodriguez Tormes returned from his truck with a gun and shot Rodriguez in the place. Shot Rodriguez, police said. So, you need to carry a handgun at work. You need a concealed carry permit, and you need to be ready to pull the trigger. You do not point the gun unless you're ready to pull the trigger. And when you do point the thing, you make sure that you pull the trigger. You do not point it unless you are actually going to pull the trigger, because that is Gun Safety 101 here on Real Simple News with Kale McCullough. Is you never ever point a loaded gun at anyone you're not intending to shoot. The employee was taken to the area hospital and pronounced dead. Rodriguez Tormes was charged with murder, destruction of evidence, and weapons possession. It's another day in the hood. R.I.P. Burger King worker. In this next article from the Daily Mail, TikTok will open a London HQ in a move approved by ministers risking major row with Donald Trump. TikTok reportedly opened a London HQ. Okay, did they just copy and paste that? This is so sloppy. I mean, they put out so much fake news every day. I mean, you just got to expect complete slop from these people. So this is batshit lunatic crazy. Like, they're actually going to let TikTok come in and start harvesting all of your data at your house. And this is scary. What you can get off the TikTok app is crazy detailed spy information. So run by Nazi Party. They got millions of Uyghur Muslims in concentration camps. They got hundreds of millions of impoverished Chinese out in the countryside. You have a authoritarian dictator, Winnie the Pooh. You got filthy, stinking, rich Chinese people. You got private property ownership in Hong Kong. Got a national security law where if you encourage people to overthrow the dictator Winnie the Pooh and bring democracy to Hong Kong, you'll then, even if you're in the United States of America where we have freedom of speech, you are now a criminal in China. So now I can never own a business in Hong Kong or China. And so all of these people who are doing business in China now have a competitive advantage over me that I can't compete with now, possibly in the economy of scale that they could have whenever, like when Elon Musk got $1.6 billion loan from Winnie the Pooh to outsource our jobs to China, to Shanghai. I could never get that. There's no way I could ever get that. So we're just handing out money to Tesla. Just think, they're like, what is Tesla doing with these? They're making batteries. That's what they're. It's a huge battery thing. And what do batteries contain? They contain lithium. And what is it about lithium that makes electric cars unfeasible? There's a limited supply, and if we run out of it, then we don't have any more lithium. And so he's basically making money, stabbing us in the back. Now Elon Musk is beholden to the Chinese Nazi Party for the $1.6 billion loan. And then now the dictator Winnie the Pooh now controls Musk. So Musk is now a Chinese asset. And TikTok can monitor everything around you. So they can get access to your contact list, your location, your IP addresses. Your Bluetooth, look it up. All right, so here is access to the camera, determine if internet is on, keep the device turned on, secure detailed information on user location from GPS, read and write the device's storage. Ooh, that one's creepy. So they can go through all your stuff on your phone. This is a nasty spy device. This is the worst spy device that you can get. This is like you downloaded that really sketchy torrent and you just had to play that game and you knew it was hacked and you're a fucking idiot for doing that. Don't even complain about your... I mean, you just didn't even care. Because you thought you didn't have anything to steal. And as it turns out, you actually did. The stuff that they took, normal people wouldn't have taken, and you would be very upset if you knew what they took. But you didn't know that they were targeting you, just like most thieves, most identity theft victims. They're like, oh, I didn't know that you could use that information to get all of this other stuff through social engineering. And as it turns out, yeah, you can actually exploit people with social engineering using very small little tidbits of data that you can get from here. China has hundreds or millions of people monitoring China's social media presence in the United States. So when they have all that info and they can get spies running in, because in the other week on Real Simple News, we covered a story of a Chinese grad student who was convicted of spying. Chinese grad students at universities may be expelled soon. So when was this? This was May 19th. This was from the Mercury News, the Associated Press. Story says, in Trump's administration, soon thousands of Chinese graduate students enrolled at U.S. universities and impose other sanctions, and Chinese officials in the latest signs of tensions between Washington and Beijing that are raging over trade, the coronavirus pandemic, human rights, and status of Hong Kong. So they're using the Chinese foreign exchange students. These are all the people going. They aren't the people going to grad school in the U.S. are definitely not the poor Chinese or the normal ones. These are your filthy, stinking rich children of the Chinese Nazi Party. They call them second generation rich Asians, and they are a detestable group of people in China. They're not very well liked because they grew up rich. They're in China. You are expected to have what your parents had. So this creates a very much so non-communist hierarchy. The hierarchy that they have created is so Nazi. It's hardcore Nazi. It is the spitting definition of National Socialism. They literally have a system where they have hundreds of millions of impoverished Chinese out in the countryside. And then they take the kids when they grow up and then become an adult, send them into the city to get money, and then send it back to the countryside. So it's like they're extracting people out of the countryside, moving them into the cities. And the old people there, like if you leave toilet paper out, they don't leave toilet paper out in the bathrooms there because the old people will just come and grab it, because it's like a bunch of impoverished Chinese people that, like, once they see something, it's like a scarcity thing and they all jump on it and they try to grab as much as they can to hoard for themselves because they might not ever have toilet paper ever again. And they create hierarchies. And then so these people coming over here for foreign exchange students, they're not good people. I mean, some of them are nice. Usually Nazis were nice to people, okay? They only killed certain people, and if you were nice to them, then they would help you out, right? This is the same thing the Chinese Nazi Party do. A lot of these people are innocent. I'm not talking about those people. We're talking specifically about the ones that this article is talking about. The grad students, the students who are children of Chinese Nazi Party members who are second generation rich, who never worked a day in their life. They're living off the parents' money. They are come to our country, and then they work as a spy for the Chinese government to push Marxism. If you're unfamiliar with Marxism, it was a philosophy came up with by a rabid white supremacist named Karl Marx. He hated black people. He commonly advocated for genocide of people. He was not a good person. He was a very bad person. And so this was the ideology that caused the socialist and communist, the socialists in the USSR and the Nazis to kill so many people. And then after that failed, they thought that it was the culture. It wasn't Marxism. They had to, it was the culture. And so they had to have the cultural de-evolution in China, where they destroyed all of the Buddhist, Taoist, and monasteries and all of the cultural artifacts in order to eliminate the culture. It's called cultural Marxism. It's the most deadly form of Marxism. It's the same kind of Marxism that Black Lives Matter practices. They have actually been on film, the heads of the hashtag BLM movement, been on camera saying they are trained Marxists. Let's look at the video. I brought it up. BLM. Trained Marxists. So here is the video of the BLM co-founder.
I think of a lot of things. The first thing I think is that we actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We are trained Marxists. We are super versed on sort of ideological theories, and I think that what we really try to do is build a movement that could be utilized by many, many Black folk. I also think that it might, I think of a lot of things. The first thing I think is that we actually do have an ideological frame. Myself and Alicia in particular are trained organizers. We
you heard it.
Are trained Marxists. We are...
So, this is what they've been doing with the toppling the statues, with the cancel culture. Cancel culture is the American version of the cultural de-evolution in China that killed approximately 70 million people. Also caused the Korean War and the Vietnam War. Even though, yes, we were the we invaded. Marxists are the scum of the earth. They are the scum of the earth. They advocate for an ideology that has killed like 4 times more people than Nazism. Nazis killed less than 10 million people. There was like 60 million people about that were injured, and then there was like 10 million people. 6 million Jews, 11 million. There's 5 million political enemies, 6 million Jews. How many soldiers? A lot of casualties. 70 to 80 million people perished in all. So it's fighting them. And then, okay, so it's not as much as the communists. Mao killed about... See, this is what's good about Real Simple News, is that I'm not don't have some producer. I am the producer. I'm an engineer. I like to check out facts. I'm doing this for fun. Nobody's paying me any money. I'm trying to get people to help me out with my open source projects. That's what I get out of it, which I think that everyone would agree is still a free thing. If I do benefit, it's because it was awesome. So Mao Zedong, how many million people did he kill? 45 million? I thought he killed 70. I think I might have said that wrong. I'm fact-checking, correcting myself. Independence saying 45. This is saying 20. So 45, killed twice. Stalin was wretchedly horrible. He was the worst, arguably one of the worst dictator. Mao, the people who did the killing were the people. They were the people on the ground. I do believe Stalin ordered all of these executions, and I think the Cultural Revolution. I don't know enough about that to tell you. Actually, I'm not gonna pretend like I know anything about that. Takes experience to know when you don't know something sometimes. So, man, it was just horrible what the guy did. Scumbag piece of shit. So, it's TikTok. They're pushing this Marxist stuff. TikTok promotes Marxism. They're run by communists. They promote messages that are friendly to socialism. They suppress messages that are threatening to China. So this makes them a very, very, very serious national security threat. And it is just stunning that hold on. You know what? British people have a long history of being complete idiots. Do not ever get in a stupid competition with a Brit. He'll put you under the table. Trust me. Where do you think white supremacy came from? Just look at their teeth. I'm joking. Fucking with you. I actually got head-butted when I was a kid, and the tooth grew in funny. So I actually have 3 teeth fused in one. I was told by a dentist I was the only person in the world with a tooth like that. So I think it's cool. But TikTok, if they had me, if I was on TikTok, China would be monitoring my every move because I have a YouTube channel where I encourage people to overthrow the dictator Winnie the Pooh and bring democracy to China and Hong Kong and the rest of Asia. And so that makes me a criminal in mainland China. And that makes it so that I'm someone that they would target in order to control social media presence. So if I was on TikTok, they would not allow me to grow. I would be shadow banned. So I don't bother with TikTok. I'm already shadow banned on the other platforms. So I'm not going to waste around my time on the Chinese platform being shadow banned. And it's just kind of whack that China doesn't allow any of our social networking apps in there. So it's pretty whack that we let their social network in that brainwashes and spies on all your data when they don't let our businesses in there. So fuck them. Communist, Marxist, Nazis, they're all scumbag pieces of shit. You need to try working. Maybe instead of being a leech, why don't you try to start a business? And why don't you try building something yourself? And then go give it away to everybody. And then come back with some wham burgers, some cries, and some wine, and cry me a river. In this next article from the New York Post, a Mexican national dies after apparent fall from Arizona border wall. A 33-year-old Mexican man died in American custody on Saturday because 56% of illegal immigrants are from Mexico. 4 out of 5 of them were getting through because the Democrats' wall was so weak that it was just some barbed wire fence with some posts stuck in the ground. You could just walk over. And Donald Trump's wall is a lot stronger than your weak sissy wall. This was about a week after falling from the U.S.-Mexico border wall, authorities said. Man was found with injuries in an open field near Yuma, Arizona, by agents from the U.S. Customs Border Protection on July 26th, the agency said. So I would like to propose my big proposal for when I run for president in 2024. And that my proposal is that we build a giant moat across the southern border, up through California, across from Canada, and then back down the East Coast, looping around through the Florida Panhandle, back through Louisiana, back to Mexico. In this moat, we're going to fill it up with sharks with laser beams on their heads, alligators and snakes, piranhas, leeches, and we're going to put lions and tigers and bears, and it's going to be a zoo. It's going to be a tourist attraction, right? So we'll like bring people from both sides of the border. See, at first you're like, this guy's a fucking racist piece of shit. Fuck this guy. Nah, man. No, we're going to bring people from each side of the border. And then you're going to come in the middle and meet with the people at the zoo. And then so you could walk around the zoo. And so you could be with the people in Mexico. And so if you want to see your family, then you can drive over to go see them. Because most illegal immigrants live along the southern border. And so you can go drive. If we kick you out, you could just drive across the border to see your family. And then you could go to the zoo. You could see sharks with laser beams on top of their heads. See? Vote for Kale. What is this? I don't remember what that was. This article from Newsweek is saying arrest of Portland protesters drops sharply after federal agents withdraw. Riots in Portland remained calm for 3 consecutive nights after federal agents withdrew from the city, but Portland Police Bureau declared unlawful assemblies. Calm for 3 consecutive nights. Calm for 3 consecutive nights. It's 750 bullets that were fired outside of an apartment complex during the BLM Antifa-Nazi riot in the Portland war zone. Yeah, I don't know if you've ever heard 150 rounds go off. It takes a long time to fire 150 rounds. Like, that's a lot of rounds. Like, they were loaded. So obviously, Newsweek is fake news. I debunk fake news on Newsweek almost every day. They're pathetic journalism. They have a perfect NewsGuard certification, and obviously NewsGuard certifications are trash, rubbish. I bet you my shit is worth more than a NewsGuard certification. I can at least make jankum out of it. So this journalist class of people, they just lie to you. They're liars. This next article from the Daily Mail, pensioner burns down 673 hectares of Brazilian rainforest by setting a car alight in an insurance scam. Heli Barroso Martins, 66, burned down 673 hectares of vegetation in the Araras Biological Reserve in Petropolis in the mountainous region of Rio de Janeiro. Rio de Janeiro, in a bid to get 25,000 reais for his car. So I'm going to say that we should probably go invade Brazil and just jack the rainforest. Say, fuck you guys. You're burning it the fuck down. Don't like that shit? Nuke their ass. I'm just joking. Brazil's awesome. Brazil's totally way awesome, man. Don't nuke Brazil. How'd you going, though, huh? No, Brazil only has 450,000 immigrants to the United States. Most of them are legal. Vast majority of them are legal. 56% of illegal immigrants are from Mexico. There's 20 illegal immigrants for every homeless person on the street. Almost 11 of them are from Mexico. So they don't really like people. People from Brazil aren't going to the United States. So if you're from Brazil, why would you support illegal immigration if it just biases it towards Brazil or towards Mexico, and then Mexicans end up taking over? Like, they just jump the border, 4 out of 5 get through, and then they start taking over the southern border, and then they annex it. Right? Why would a Brazilian support that? I mean, wouldn't a Brazilian want to legally immigrate their family to the United States and then go over there to the southern border and then have their family take over? Right? Because that's what a sane, rational person would do. In fact, I would actually, if you're from Brazil, I would actually highly encourage you to go down to the southern border and go with your family and legally immigrate and go take over down there, because you're American at that point in time. Fuck yeah. This next article from the Times of Israel, Iran covered up true virus death toll of 42,000. Data seen by BBC shows actual numbers nearly triple that reported tally. 52 people died in the month before the Islamic Republic admitted to the outbreak. And so this is the problem with all of the COVID numbers that we're seeing. They're all of the statistics, almost all of them, other than the death count in some countries, are just completely garbage statistics. They're so inaccurate. They're all like requiring us to, first off, there's 6 different strands of COVID. Okay, so when there was the H1N1 pandemic, the flu was not the pandemic. The H1N1 was the pandemic. Right? So COVID, there's like 6 different kinds. One of them is the deadliest kind. The others aren't anywhere near as deadly. And so that makes it so that strand of COVID is or SARS-CoV-2, shall I say, is the pandemic. That is the one that is actually hurting people. The other ones are just less lethal forms that if you get them and then you get the lethal form of COVID, you will be more likely to survive the lethal form if you have had the non-lethal form, because this is the basics of how your immune system works. This is why older people or younger people are more likely to die from flu than older people. It's because older people have had multiple different kinds of flus in their lives, or vaccines for the flu. And this causes their body to be able to fight the flu. The reason why you get acute respiratory distress syndrome is the same reason why you get lupus. It's because you have an autoimmune response, because your body is getting your white blood cells in your body are getting chemical signals that there are bad cells around your lungs, and you get sepsis. Your leukocytes come in and they start attacking your lungs and your heart and your kidneys and everything around this area. Kidneys are back here. I'm not the best with anatomy. Don't call me out. All the stuff around here is going to start attacking this stuff. Mainly hits your lungs, but then the problem is your body then starts, it thinks that because you've had all these other different, this is why the older people are so hit hard by it, is because they've had so many other different infections in their lifetime that their leukocytes are having, the cells have a chemical signature on the outside of the cell. The leukocyte comes over and then devours the cell. This is the autoimmune response. And so the older people are having problems because their immune system's confused. They get an infection. They know they have to fight something. They're flagging the wrong cells to get eaten by the leukocytes. So, what was I talking about? Yeah, you got to trust these people that they are counting all the deaths, that people aren't just dying in their house and then their families aren't just burying them. And then you have to take into account the number of people that you've tested. And then, so the mortality rate is the one that we really care about, because in the end, everybody's going to be getting COVID just like they're going to get the flu. It's a new reality of the world. It's not that scary. Scary for older people, but the reality of the world is that you've had way more flu deaths in your lifetime. This is a new thing. So if the COVID came through and took out some people, now it's way less than the flu for the rest of your life. So in reality, your risk of dying from COVID in your lifetime is actually very low compared to the flu. You're not average. See, people don't think about the time. When you've taken a time into the equation, how long have I been alive? COVID is, if you're under 45, you're 38 times less likely to die from COVID. So if you're over 45, you've lived 45 years. Of those 45 years, there's so many deaths per year. This puts so much risk factor. Over 45 years, you've had a gigantic exposure to flu death risk. Gigantic, huge. COVID's itty bitty because it's new. So if you die from COVID, that doesn't mean that like COVID was like so much more dangerous, because temporally speaking, the flu is exponentially more dangerous. Which is why you should never let Democrats control you, because they will completely fuck everything up. We let the liberal class, the liberals took over the universities. The people who work in these jobs that are serving like the healthcare industry, the WHO, the CDC, the hospitals. Who works there? People that came from where? The universities, which is what? Brainwashed by lefties. So they're going to be in an echo chamber, and then they're going to try to push something on you to try to save just one. Oh, if we just save one life. Yeah, just shut the whole fucking economy down. Just for save one fucking person. Yeah, that's real fucking smart. Real smart. Real smart. It's about as smart as most of the things that Democrats do. Only this one is way more deadly. So I guess maybe we should just listen to the Democrats, put the face masks on, even though there's no real evidence that says that you're going to be less flu deaths if you have masks on. Because the reality is that people aren't going to change the mask every day. The place you're most likely to get the flu and COVID is at your house in your living room. You're not going to wear a mask there all day. If you do, you might as well stock up on tinfoil hats, man, because we do not have paper bags because they are still making toilet paper. Yes, you heard that right. There are no paper bags in the grocery store because months later, this is August 3rd, 2020, they are still trying to catch up on the demand for toilet paper. So, it's going to start out as masks, and then it will soon be women wearing burqas. This is my prediction. You can quote me on it. In this next article from the New York Post, New Jersey federal judge Ether Salaz's son died trying to protect father from gunmen. This man is a hero, sacrificed, gave his life to protect his father. Cheers. Sucks, man. New Jersey federal judge Esther Salaz, whose son was killed 2 weeks ago in a hail of gunfire at their house, said the college student died trying to protect his father, who was wounded in the ambush. The shooting, she said, came a day after son Daniel Anderl celebrated his 20th birthday. Damn. Family had hosted a party for a week of Daniel's Catholic University and America friends, she said in a recorded message released Monday. Next time the family was cleaning up in the festivity. The next day the family was cleaning up from the festivities. Quote, Daniel and I went downstairs to the basement where we were chatting, as we always do, Salas said. And Daniel said, Mom, let's keep talking. I love talking to you, Mom. It was at that moment, doorbell rang, and Daniel looked at me and said, Who's that? Before I could say a word, he sprinted upstairs. Within seconds, I heard the sounds of bullets and someone screaming, No. I later learned that this monster who had a FedEx package in his hand opened fire, but Daniel, being Daniel, protected his father, and he took the shooter's first bullet directly to the chest, the judge added. The monster then turned his attention to my husband and began to shoot my husband, one shot after another. Mark was shot 3 times. One bullet entered his right chest, the other his left abdomen, and the last one in the right forearm. Salas said the suspect, crazed anti-feminist lawyer Roy Dean Hollander, 72, who posed as a FedEx driver during a July 19th attack, was a madman who I believe was targeting me because of my position as a federal judge. Dean Hollander appeared to target Salas for moving too slowly with his lawsuit that he claimed the military draft's exclusion of women was unfair to men. Salas said the target that struck his family is a signal that his federal judges should be afforded more privacy around their personal lives. So I would not call this person an anti-feminist. I would call them a crazed men's right extremist. Yeah, a men's rights extremist. That would be a fair assumption. There's nothing wrong with men's rights. They say it's a hate group if you look up men's rights. But this is completely factually inaccurate. In fact, a woman named Cassie There's a documentary on it. This Red Pill documentary from Cassie J. It's a really good documentary. She was a feminist who wanted to do a documentary on the men's rights movement. So she interviewed a bunch of men's rights advocates, and what she found was that she was trying to put words in their mouth and that the people weren't actually misogynists. They thought these people were misogynists, that they're in a hate group, and the reason for that is because some lunatic feminist wrote some articles saying, trying to trash talk these people because somebody said something on the internet they thought was misogynistic. So they want to blame everybody that's part of the men's rights movement for something that some lunatic said on the internet. If we want to do that, we have to talk about the feminists. Women, feminists advocate for killing men all the time. Looking for a video of some lunatics. Usually pretty easy to find. I'm looking for. She says, I'm not a feminist, but in this article from Reductorist, it says, I'm not a feminist, but I do think all men should die. This was in 2015. Let's go on. One thing clear, I'm not a feminist, but just because I'm not a feminist does not mean I do not think all men should die. As a matter of fact, I hate them. I think that they are disgusting, horrible creatures who should die violent deaths, but I should simultaneously recognize their general superiority to women and want them to remain in control of most things since women are generally less competent to deal with it. This is just lunatic, dude. Wow. Wow, does it even go crayer? This is so crazy. It says, for example, I believe women should stay away from being world leaders. What if their period is set off a nuclear war because they're feeling crabby? Men are more level-headed and decisive. They belong in office. They also belong. Dude, what the fuck is this shit, dude? Inspiring teachers' lessons also plan include their will. Data has type of battery. Women can't come from penetration because she's an extrovert. Wow. Whew. 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 Boy, there's some crazy motherfuckers out there, huh? Unhinged. See, this is the kind of shit I'm looking for. Yeah. Let's look at this. Yeah. Sweet.
Talk to you all about a serious injustice in this world, and that is the sexism that comes from men and is forced onto women. Women are raped and murdered, and for this, we need to kill all men. I am sick of being a baby factory that produces more men that will just, in the future, subjugate me. So the only answer to that is to kill male babies and just kill any man that you see, like in the streets, like any swing chick. Just
She's
kill
serious, too.
Because we want the species to go on, but we want it only to go on with women in it. So that's what we have to do. That's the only way to keep the human race going, is with just women. Get it?
All you had to do was open up the video and actually watch what I'm talking about to tell that I don't actually advocate for killing men. But those men that are commenting on my video are complete f***ing retards, and honestly, we could do without you on this planet. So, hashtag kill all men that are total f***ing retards.
Like me, huh?
Barack Obama is
a... Wow. Woo! Damn! You heard it here first. Yeah, that's not new. In this next article from the Daily Mail, Dr. Stephen Hagel, who had coon named scrapped now wants Paul to rename Smarter White Milk. Dr. Stephen Hagel, an indigenous rights activist and academic, wants Paul's to rename it Smarter White Milk because it offends Aboriginal people. He had the coon name scrapped. So let me get this straight. So they're saying that, like, it's offensive to black people because the color of the milk is white. Why don't you just make a company that says Smarter Chocolate Milk and compete with them? This next article from the Daily Mail. TV licensing website crashes on first day of new charges for over 75s. BBC's decision to scrap fee licensing for over 75s means more than 3 million households are being asked to pay £157.5 annually fee for the first time. Woo! They pay that much money for the BBC? Holy shit! Damn! How many other channels are there? How many other channels are there? Would you pay that much money? That's like more than $1, dude. That's like more than $200 right there. That's like $250 or something. Don't quote me on the exchange rate, but last time I bought something in pounds, that's what it was. It was like 75% more. But that varies, right? So, I mean, that's like, $12 a month or something. That's like a Netflix subscription for BBC. I also, too, think that NPR should be slashed on their front. They should not. I do not appreciate NPR's political message, which pretends to be apolitical, but indeed is actually a leftist message that they preach. And I feel like that is the most dangerous form of a political message, is one that's where the true intention is concealed. And the true intention is that they allow the people who work at the station to do it. And the reality of the situation is they pay so little that you're going to get a not normal group of people in control. So then it's going to be people who are leftist that take it over because they want socialism. And then we end up with cultural Marxism and the gangs spiral out of control. And then we end up with World War II. This next article from NPR. DHS reassigns official following intelligence reports on journalists and protesters. Brian Murphy was removed from his post at DHS Office of Intelligence and Analyst following news that his office compiled reports on protesters and journalists in the Portland, Oregon war zone. I would like to thank Brian Murphy for compiling that good intelligence on these BLM Antifa-Nazis and their fake journalists, because they are not just fake news. They are pretending to be journalists, and they have agitators in the crowd. There's been reports of Chinese people speaking Chinese, engaging in rioting, who are suspected of working for the Chinese Nazi Party. We've got cartels who have been engaging in riots. We have explosives thrown at officers. The one bomb could be felt in the Portland war zone, could be felt from a block away. So that gives you reason to have the ATF there. It gives you reason to have the FBI, the CIA, Homeland Security, National Guard, Army, everybody. So these people, these crazy lunatic lefties, in the anti-free speech bubble, what they're doing is they pretend like they some little cartoon character, and they go down to these protests so that they could try to look good for the BLMAN, because they're all just trying to hook up. They're all just trying to come up, and they you can't tell who's an agitator. Is this person a medic, or are they just wearing that so that they could have protection, so that whenever they're rioting, that they don't have to, or that they can protect themselves? This is a very real issue. There's been reports that the oh shoot, I can't remember. I'm not going to talk about it. In this next article from the Times of Israel, shocked doctor finds a bullet lodged in the brain of a sleepy 9-year-old and removes it. A 9-year-old boy from East Jerusalem is recovering after doctors at Hadassah Medical Center removed a bullet that hit him in the head, passed through his brain, ground to a halt upon reaching the inside of his skull, and then migrated to the back of the brain. The parents, residents, and Palestinian neighbor of Ras Al Amut brought their conscious but sleepy son, who had only a tiny wound on his head but a bit of blood on his hair. Doctors were staggered when the bullet showed up in the scan. Neurosurgeon Guy Elor said the Times of Israel was amazed, or told the Times of Israel, he was amazed that even though the bullet went through very important brain structures, that the boy was chatting and recovering, was expected to have minimal brain damage or none at all. Well, that is just incredible. Wow. All right, so I got to cover what I got to cover and get off of here. This article from New York Post, Pompeo, TikTok data could be going directly to the Chinese Communist Party. We've already covered this. This next article from the Daily Mail, a California man was waiting for a train, and he's hit by a car that drove onto the station platform. The victim was taken to the trauma center for treatment. The incident happened around 7:30 a.m. in Sustin City train station on Saturday, when officers from the Sustin City Police Department arrived on the scene. They found the man who had been struck by the vehicle on the train station platform. Here is the car. And in this last article from Hacker News, I made an app that lets you split a file into Horcruxes. Find this on GitHub. It's from a user, Jess Duffield. It's called Horcrux UI, and what it does is it allows you to split up your journals into individual files that you can put on USB drives, and you can hide them around your house and then combine them and then restructure them into your diary. What is this written in? Is it Go? I don't know Go. Yeah, you can find that on GitHub /JESSEDUFFIELD /HORCRUXES CRUX-UI. And thank you for watching Real Simple News on August 3rd, 2020. I am your host, Cale McCullough. And as usual, until next time, farewell, sayonara, aloha, peace be with you, and Godspeed in your journey.